I think that's a very credible argument, to be honest. But at the same time, it's rather a worrying one, isn't it? You know, we're tightening monetary policy now just to make sure we can loosen it again further down the line when everything goes wrong. But nonetheless, I do think that is part of the reason why they are looking to hike, yes.
OK, so you're looking for June, July?
We are still at the moment. I mean, the data, to be honest, have been more of a mixed bag maybe than the previous report was suggesting. If you look at the PMI from market, for example, for the services sector, that was quite disappointing, to put it mildly, yesterday. And there are certainly some areas of the US that are doing very well and others that aren't. But overall, if you listen to the Fed's rhetoric, they are still flagging very strongly that's what they want to do regardless.
So, Michael, I got to ask you, you're thinking that if they go in June or July, it could be a policy error. Explain, describe why.
Well, the question comes down to it, first of all, is the US economy strong enough to handle it? And as I just said, parts of it are red hot and definitely can handle it and actually need higher rates than that. But other parts of the US economy are frankly suffering. And I think, you know, any interest rate increase is an increase too far for them. So it's a very, very mixed bag. And they're looking at the average overall, and that means it's not necessarily appropriate for all regions. But you have to also consider that the Fed is very much in the position of being the central bank for the emerging markets as well. And in that respect, there's definitely going to be a global impact of any hike that we see.
All right, so let me ask you, there's been increasing chatter and increasing sort of critical mass. Now we've got 4 of the regional banks on board saying that, look, how about let's hike the discount rate? Would that be a good compromise?
Well, I mean, any of these things are possible, but at the end of the day, they have to really decide, are they going to normalise rates or not at some point? Is the economy strong enough for them to do what they claim they want to do and try and make things look a bit more normal and less new normal? That's what it all comes down to. But the question is, can the US economy sustain a normal level of interest rates when it itself is structurally new normal? And can the global economy sustain it? And really, that's a question that we're only going to find out once they've actually taken that step. And then we'll find out if it was the right one or the wrong one.
Well, you know what, Michael? The answer, if you talk to the bond market, is pretty clear because, I mean, this time around, ahead of a second rate hike, you've got a flattening yield curve versus, let's say, back in 2013 when old Ben Bernanke started trying to get the market around the idea of, look, you know, we're going to start tapering, we're going to start easing back. The yield curve was steepening. The bond market seems to be telling us that, okay, we're good with this whole idea of rates going up a second time, but you know what? We're not good with the idea that going forward or out, the economy the economy's prospects are solid or good.
I would broadly agree with that. And I have to say, when you're looking at what markets are telling you, instinctively, I always think the bond market gives you a much clearer signal than the equity market. I like to say that basically the equity market is like an overexcited teenager running around, doesn't quite know where it's going, but everything's wonderful at the moment. But the bond market is much more like a boring middle-aged professor wearing a sports coat with leather patches on the elbows and smoking a pipe. You know, rather dull, but what they say is actually much more important at the end of the day.